afternoon. You'll be briefed by Vice Chairman of the NTSB, Bruce Landsberg, Landsberg.
Happening now.
Miami Air International Flight 293 was inbound from Guantanamo Bay and landed here at Naval Air Station Jacksonville at about 9:49 last evening. There were 135 people on board and 7 crew members. The aircraft overran the runway. That would be runway 11, which is an easterly alignment. Everybody survived with some few minor injuries. The aircraft departed the right side of the runway at the far end and impacted a low seawall, which was made of loose stones and rocks, and stopped in the shallow rivers of the St. John River.
Can you explain how that process works?
This is important. We have recovered the flight data recorder. That has the ability to record over 1,000 parameters, and that'll give us the airspeed, position of flight controls, the altitude, the point of touchdown, and many, many things relative to what the aircraft was doing and so forth. That flight data recorder is right now on its way to the NTSB laboratory in Washington, D.C., and it was undamaged, so we expect to get a very full report on that shortly.
Is there anything particularly challenging about 9,000-foot runway or anything else about the
Our first response, our first priority was obviously human life. So that was our immediate focus, was getting the people to safety. When I arrived on scene, most of the passengers had been taken off the airplane and were ashore. And then I had learned that there were pets aboard the aircraft, and my heart immediately sank because I'm a pet owner myself and cannot imagine what the pet owners were going through. Our second priority, once we knew that the passengers were safe, our second priority was to try to attempt to determine what the status of the pets. Initial responders did look inside the cargo bay. They did not see anything. They did not hear any animal noises. They could not see any crates. So at that point, as well as for their own safety and not knowing if the aircraft could potentially sink and risk their lives, they backed out. As the evening progressed a little bit and we got some additional actions done, I asked the first responders to go back and make an assessment. And they did. They went in, they could look in from the cargo bay door. We asked them to specifically look for pet carriers, and they could not see any pet carriers that were above the water line. So we obviously do not have confirmation, but we are continuing to do what we can to positively determine the status of the pets. In terms of length, 9,000 feet is not challenging for this airplane. As I saw them coming off the plane and being escorted onto the airfield, everyone was very cordial, and there wasn't any commotion or any kind of panic. Everybody was very calm. When I spoke with the passengers later in the evening, they were obviously, they were tired, they were wet, they wanted to just get into bed and get a change of clothes, but they were all very respectful and cooperative, and they were patient with us.
So
we really appreciate.
Satisfied with the response?
Yes. So I know, obviously, initial reports, there's lots of confusion in terms of numbers, and those numbers changed. Some passengers left the scene, later came back wanting to seek treatment or to be looked at. So that's why some of those numbers changed. But in total, right now we've 41 people were transported. Now that number is high from the standpoint that of those, 19 were family members or friends that were escorting the passenger they knew, to the either the local hospital here on base or out in town. So 22 passengers, 22 people sought medical attention. Only one person was hospitalized. It was a dependent, 3-month-old child. It was the child was admitted to the hospital as a precaution for observation overnight, and last I checked this afternoon, the child was to be released.
At the crash site, there was some leaking of jet fuel, and the Coast Guard, as I understand it, has installed some booms around that to contain the jet fuel there. I was out there here this afternoon, and you can smell the jet fuel, but it seems to be well contained. They laid out a couple of booms, so I think that works pretty well.
One more question.